How you, boy?
Good man, and you, brother? Brother?
Brother from another mother.
Classic, my boy. Thanks for the photos, bud. I just replied to your message.
Oh, you did?
What was the filter you used on the top one, Jana?
I look younger.
Well, you've definitely used a filter. I know that.
But there's a little icon that has like a magic wand, and you press that thing, and suddenly it's like all the wrinkles are gone. It's amazing.
Yes, yeah. But you don't have to hide. But if you got some sort of weird insecurity about your wrinkles, it's okay, man.
It's okay, but listen, everyone's gonna see the wrinkles in these videos anyway, bro. So can't hide, eh?
No, but you can't. That's the cool thing. That's actually what I dig about video is I mean, you can, like, there are ways to do it. Like, actually on Zoom has touch up already.
Oh, it does, huh?
In its preferences. Yeah. So you can do it on video, but like, listen, at the end of the day, in person, someone's going to catch you out. You know what I mean?
Man, listen, I don't know about you, but I'm just learning to accept to age as we must, bro. There's a couple of gray hairs coming in, the wrinkles are there. It's because I've got an expressive face, bro. So I'm never going to stop that. I'm never going to stop frowning and smiling and doing these things. So my face must look the way that it's going to.
Yeah, that's the same as me, but I always like, I think it was like Brandon or someone always used to go, yes, you got lank, big eye wrinkles. And I was like, yeah, but it's just because I smile a lot. That was my excuse, at least, it makes me feel better, at least. You know what I mean?
I must say, though, I'm going to use whatever technology is out there to try and age as gracefully as possible. And one of the things, growing up in South Africa like we did, but and probably not as educated, or maybe we were just stubborn, but the whole thing about not wearing suntan lotion when we were playing hours of sport, throughout the week in the African sun, it's come back to haunt me now, bro, because the sun damage is real, like the sun marks and whatever. But I went and I was taking the dogs for a walk the other day, and there's this clinic called Revive with this Polish doctor that's a bit of a celebrity. And so anyway, I popped in, and he was like, "Let me sit you down and let me look at you." And he goes, "Yes, how old are you?" I'm like, "I'm 40. He goes, "Well, to be honest," he said, "I like to be honest. You look probably about 45. So I'm like,
yes, you bastard.
I was like, okay, I'm used to hearing the opposite, but okay, I'm going to go with this. I mean, this is this guy's trying to sell his wares. But anyway, he does this treatment called BBL, which is like a special light therapy that actually removes, or at least makes the sun damage and the spots look a lot better. Then what he uses is microneedling, which is also a service we're actually going to start to put on ships, and where they actually prick the skin, and he goes about 1 millimeter deep. And then at the same time, they're drawing blood from you, and they put it through a centrifuge, and they pull out all the platelets, and then they bathe your skin once it's been pricked with these platelets. So it gets absorbed. And what this does is it stimulates the skin to start reproducing collagen and starts the regeneration process all over again. And apparently it makes a huge impact to slowing down at least the aging process from all the damage that the sun does. Because what the sun does is actually unwind your natural elasticity and dries it out, etc. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be a treatment I'll play with this year and see how it looks, how it feels.
Yeah, definitely. But if there's stuff out there, like, why not try it, But anyway, that oak's a bastard. Like, there's no ways, Shana, I reckon you look 45. So, like you said, he's trying to sell you something. So he's like, yeah, 50 actually.
Shock tactic, bro. It's like, fuck, okay. Like,
yeah,
give it to me.
Yeah. It's exactly, man, exactly. So, I think last week you said you were going to try out speaking to an energy healer or something. Did you manage to get in a session? How did that go?
I have not got the session in. So did I tell you the story about the first session I had with this woman?
Mm-mm.
So, Bud, she's from Venezuela. She must be in her 50s. She's been doing energy healing literally since she said like she first realized she had the gift when she was about 12. And she communicates with entities, whether you want to call them angels or spirit guides, whatever, when she's working with people, and she downloads and they give her messages for the people that she's working with, right? So my boss actually gave me the gift of this first session. She sees her on the regular, and we were talking about our own sort of spiritual journeys, etc. And she goes, I think you would like to try this. She says, I've got a session on Friday. She says, I can't make it, so I'm going to gift it to you. So I'm like, okay, cool. So anyway, off I went, and she's got this beautiful little clinic, and walked in there, met the husband, and anyway, go up into the room, and she sits me down, and she asked me a couple of questions, right? So like basics, like, are you married? And what's going on, not really like what's going on in your life, but just, get to know each other. So anyway, long and short, she knows fuck all about me, right? I lie down, she puts me on her stomach, and she says, I'm not going to do necessarily any energetic work with you today, but I'm going to read your body. And she starts running her fingers like this, like a slow walk up my spine. And as she hits different parts of my spine, she highlights specific ages in my life.
Wow.
And each time she said the number, that age, the story of what happened to me or my journey that were very key, important points in my life came to me. And as she said the age, I told her the story. Yep, that is exactly what happened. And then she goes up and she goes, what about that age? And then I'm like, oh shit, that's when this happened. That's when Brian died. That's when, I fucking moved from my mom to my dad, big like pinnacle moments in my teenage years. And it was all this amazing stuff that happened. And it was spot on, but about 7 different key things. So then afterwards, she starts playing with my feet, and she hits a trigger, and she's like, yep, that's someone in your family. She told me who it was. And I was like, fuck, okay. And then we spoke about my sister. We spoke about all sorts of incredible stuff. So by the end of it, she then flips you over onto your front. And then she did like, she's not even touching you, bud, at this stage. And you can feel the heat of her hand as she's moving it over you. And you start to feel these shifts of energy in your body. And then there was a moment where it felt like there was a pin, literally, that moved from my arm that came out like a metal rod being pulled out of my one arm. And that was a session. It took about an hour altogether. And I walked out of there, but feeling like I was tired when I walked in. I felt like I'd just taken like the biggest dose of caffeine, but I was like peaking and just feeling so at peace and so at ease. And that wasn't even energy work necessarily. All she was doing was reading my body and highlighting stuff that I needed to become aware of again, so that we can start the process of doing the energy work. But like I told you, so this girl that I'd been seeing, after I told her that story, she started going to the energy healer every week religiously for the last like 2 months, and has completely unpacked and untangled so much to the point that it caused a rift in what we were doing. So, but that's beautiful, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, And I think one of the reasons why we came into each other's life was so that I could make that introduction to her for this energy healing that she needed. And if that's the reason, then that's beautiful.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah. So there's some, I don't know what the word is, talented, skilled, in tune, whatever people out there, hey, that can really sense these things. And we really need to actually listen to these people. There's something special about them, and they can really sort of open up something that might be holding us back in our lives. Hey, like, it's amazing that she didn't even do any energy work. Like I said, she was just sort of feeling the room, so to say. It's incredible.
It's amazing, right? And if you think about it as humanity, it makes sense that we have light workers, that we have healers for the body, because we're all in a body. So why on earth would we not have mechanics, right, with these natural gifts and divine talents that can help humanity heal you know, and be better versions of ourselves, and to, you know, go for a tune up and a serve up. So, you know, when and you and I talk about this all the time, everything is energy. So
Yeah.
why on earth would you not, as a human being, on a regular, go see an energy healer?
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. We're impacted by energy every single second.
Exactly, but exactly. It's so important, you know, like to acknowledge that. And then, like you said, if you can go see somebody, go see somebody, because they'll definitely either trigger something in you or open up something in you, and, like, you know, make you see something, or just, yeah, whatever it is. It's really fascinating, man. Marissa actually had an experience this week. Um, with the lady that was massaging her, right? I think I don't know, she might be a physio or a massage therapist. I can't remember. But anyway, like, Marissa went to see her ages ago, and she hadn't seen her for like a few months before, since, you know, and she went this week again. And the girl that did it, she's like, look, I have to tell you something. Like, last time after you came here, I don't know what it was, but, like, I felt something, like, I just don't know what it was. It was so, like, weird, and I had to then go and see this, like, effective energy, like, I don't know if a healer or what it is, but, like, exact same sort of thing that the same person that you just said. Anyway, she was she said, and she's like, I don't know, like, I don't know, I just felt there was also this other kind of, like, energy and whatever in the room. Like, I don't know if it's like somebody that you know, or what the story was. And then they both, like she was telling the story, and they both became, like, quite emotional. And then Marissa was, like, trying to think, and she was like, maybe it was like my dad. Um, and then as she said that, this flippin' book but closed. I'm not even joking. Like, just like, actually opened and closed. And I was like, what the fuck? And, you know, like, Marissa's old man died, like 12 years ago, or even more, like 14 years ago or something like that. And she had just moved overseas, you know, so she missed out on, like, really saying goodbye to him properly and stuff. And yeah, and maybe now, because we've been here back in her hometown for such a long time now, he's like, just wants to say goodbye or something like that. You know, there's something out there that's just, like, unexplainable, and you know, in many ways, like, magical, but also just, like, mystical. You know, and like, she was literally, she came home and she was like crying, like, she was so emotional. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, very, very powerful stuff.
Oh, but it's beautiful to think. And here's what you realize, right? So our eyes can only pick up a very small bandwidth of frequency, right? Of all the light energy around, we only see a fraction of the whole thing. Our ears only pick up a fraction of all the sound energy that is around us. So we are really, if you think about it, right, we are dancing and maneuvering in one dimension of thousands of dimensions, right?
Mm.
So for them, you know, and if you think about the spirit energy of the body, that when we pass out of this human form and then it moves on, because it's not destroyed or created, it just shifts into a different, you know, bandwidth of energy, then of course it makes sense that a person's energy can hang around or linger around, or that somehow can try and communicate with you, you know, and that we don't necessarily see it, or but we can sense it, you know, and maybe our intuition and that part of us that is spirit, you know, picks up on those frequencies. So when you get suddenly you know, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when, you know, when you sense something is there, anything is possible, brother,
Yeah.
anything. And you talk about Marissa's dad dying, but for me, this whole last year has really been the theme of face. My little stepsister Michelle committed suicide last year. Um, had a few people that were very close to that ended up, you know, tragically dying. Um, it was my stepdad's Brian's death anniversary on the 27th of April, a couple of days ago. It's been 10 years since
Wow.
he passed away, but how quick has that gone?
Wow.
And and then yesterday we were at a funeral for our ex-boss Amanda Francis,
Oh, no
who
way.
passed away a couple of weeks ago from a heart attack at 55. with 2 young kids at the age of 10. And it really just makes you think and face this inevitable part of our journey that we all have to go through. And I don't know, maybe it's quite an interesting little discussion for us to have today, Gareth, but every time I hear of somebody passing away, a part of me is like, they're lucky, like they've now done it, you know? And we still have to face that. But I really feel that if we all sit with it and we accept it, number one, we're not fearful of it, and we start to really open our minds to what that means and the journey beyond, and the place that we've come from is the same place we go back to, right? So there's nothing really to fear, because what were you before you were in this human form, right?
Yeah.
That in some way, I hope, and I'm trying to feel it in my life, that every time I think about my own death, that it fuels me to really, really, really try to stay present and super grateful, and just live each minute with as much ferocity as possible, because it could be any time, bud.
Yeah, but I mean, 100%. Like it seems like a horrible way to live, but actually, it's actually a very important way to live. You know, to understand that, you know, you could walk out your door tomorrow and something could happen to you. You know, and it like it literally can. Like it almost happened to you the other day. You know, you almost got hit by a car on the road on your when you're on your
Yeah.
bicycle. Like literally 1 meter or 2 meters. You know, either way, and it was tickets. You know, so
Yeah.
but I think it's one of the most important things, and it's a reality we have to face, that, you know, your clock is ticking, and, you know, we're all actually dying. You know, some of us are dying in a horrible way because we have diseases and cancer and or you know, whatever else. But actually all of us are dying, you know, like we're all just, you're going to die of old age. So um it's an inevitable thing that we need to face, and for that exact reason we need to make the most out of everything, like what you said. But it's like it's literally the most important thing in the world is to face this reality, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, because it does
Yeah.
actually make your life better. Like it sounds so weird, but it does make your life better, because you're like, fuck, I'm gonna have this chat with Ryan today, and I'm gonna talk about cool stuff, you know, and or I'm just gonna like be totally focused on this because this is some awesome experience. Or I'm gonna go for a walk today, and I'm really just gonna be focused on enjoying it. I'm gonna go meet my friend for a coffee, and I'm gonna flip and love it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna raise my energy intentionally. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Because
man.
because shit, bud. I mean, what's that? You know what I mean? Like
Yes, bud.
it's so important.
That's all it is, bro. And yet, and this is the thing, we have to wake the fuck up, bro, because most of us, but I've done it for the biggest part of my life, Gareth, is living in this future fucking state in my head, that the in between becomes almost like this dream. And you go, what happened to the day? How did that just fly by? And that happens because you're in your fucking head, bro. You're
Yeah.
not there. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you're really present and when you really like in the moment, not distracted, but you with what you're doing, you're really feeling things, you are expressing things authentically, you're actually listening, right? That it's almost like time slows down. It's almost like there's
Yeah,
spaciousness that's created, and there's more color,
exactly.
there's more meat to the thing that you're doing. You find that?
100%, but 100%. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, like you're literally fully immersed in it, and I don't know, you're just enjoying that moment so much, and like yeah, it seems like time actually stands still because you really are immersed in that moment. You know, like I know exactly what you mean, but as opposed to like doing something but like thinking, fuck, oh, I've got to do this later or that, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, and then you, like you said, because you're so distracted, the time just seems to fly by. Yeah, but
Yeah.
these you know, and you know, this actually takes like discipline in a way, and like constant reminding of yourself. So, you know, like you have to go, you know what, I need to make an effort to actually do this. And that's all it comes down to. And then once you get into that habit, you know, it just becomes almost natural. It's never going to be like, never going to do that 100%. But the more you go, you know what, I'm going to have some sort of intention with whatever it is that I'm doing. It's going to make everything better, but more purposeful, more fulfilling, just like more memorable as well. You know what I mean? You're going to go
Yeah.
like, yeah, if
Yeah,
it's like
you will
yeah,
actually remember the things that you've done,
yes,
because when you can't remember half your day, well, I can't even remember what I did. It's because you weren't there, bro.
mm-hmm.
You were every other place in every other scenario of your life, creating up stories for the possible future.
Yeah,
And then it just slips away from under you, bud. And that is the practice, isn't it? So last week, did I tell you about my little practice now of turning my phone off on Sundays?
yes, you did. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I did it again this weekend, bro. And it was Saturday night when I went to bed, turned it off, and didn't turn it on again until Monday morning. But geez, bud, I'm telling you now, it's a gift.
Yep.
And it helps you do exactly what we've just been talking about, to get rid of that distraction, which, fuck, man, which stays with us and with so many people 24 hours a day, right? Constantly trying to get your attention, pinging you, right? And not having that, it just has created so much more presence for me on a whole day. So yeah, bud, it's great. I'm going to continue doing it.
You know what the cool thing will probably be, Lion, is that you've now started with one day, which I think is like that's a good one. Really, like, you sort of started it like in the deep end in a way, because that's a long time. But probably what's going to happen is you're going to go, yes, you know what, I'm actually going to do this on Friday or Saturday and Sunday. You know what I mean? Like you, because you're just going to have, well, you're going to enjoy it so much, I reckon. You're going to be like, yeah, maybe I should do this, and for longer, because you really are enjoying those moments just that much more. You know what I mean?
Big time, big time. But like, for anyone out there, like, listening to this, maybe, you could do something simple, like if you're going to walk to the shops, for example, just make the decision to leave your phone at home, and for that half an hour or 1 hour, just give yourself that break and see what a difference it makes, bro.
Yeah.
It's like you have withdrawal, like I'm missing something, a part of my body. It's like missing a leg, isn't it? You keep checking your
Exactly.
pocket and the phone's not there, or you keep reaching because you're so used to looking at to see if anyone's messaged you. But
Yeah.
just give yourself those little breaks, man, just so
Yeah.
that you can actually be with yourself and walk and talk and engage without the distraction. When you're at the shop, for example, and you're in the line, instead of everybody just looking at their cell phones, well, now maybe you'll pick up a conversation or actually meet a person that you're supposed to meet.
Yes, exactly, bud. Exactly. Um, for me, like the most powerful way to do this, I think, and maybe one of the most important places to start is to not turn your phone on in the morning. Like,
Mm.
don't turn your 3G on or 4G, whatever you got, or Wi-Fi or anything like that. Um, give yourself like minimum minimum 30 minutes. The longer you can go, the better. Like, um, without turning your phone on, without receiving information. Like, because as soon as you receive information, especially in the morning, like your mind's all groggy and you're like half asleep still, and then you might read something and you won't react in the right way. You'll overreact, especially to negative news, and then that sets your day, bud. That negative news sets your day, like, and controls your day effectively, you know. Um, but if you give yourself like 30 minutes or an hour or whatever in the morning, like just to yourself, like, in fact, what you're doing is you're preparing your brain, like, so then when any other when you do eventually switch your phone on, your mind is prepared. It's prepared for like negative news, and you handle it so much better. But honestly, for me, that was a game changer. But I think like 6 or 7 years ago, I don't know why, but I read it somewhere and I started doing that myself. And like for the first 3 hours of the day, I won't turn my phone on. 3 hours, but and it literally it is a total game changer to how your day pans out. Seriously, it's power.
Brother, that is great, 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 great advice. I was talking to my friend Rob the other day. He's got 2 young kids, and they were talking about how they have to use tech time as a negotiation tool to get the kids to do what they need to do. So it's like, if you do this, I will give you 30 minutes to be on on your tablet. It's mate, this next generation is completely different, man. And the mom was saying that they have to do a countdown, because if they grab the iPad and say, that's it, enough tech now, the kids have an absolute meltdown. But if you say, okay, 10 more minutes, okay, 5 more minutes, okay, put your timer on 2 more minutes, then the kids are like, okay, and then they give it back. So yes, but yeah, I think in a way, we were lucky to have at least part of our life without it, but now we're also engaged with it. To have these little practices is very helpful.
Yeah, exactly, bud. Yeah, I mean, I'm so thankful for when we grew up, bud. Like, so thankful that we had this like non-digital age, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but you know, it's also crazy. I also just think back line, like literally 12 years ago, bud. I mean, you used to wake up so much differently, right? Like you maybe no maybe you had like a Nokia or something like 12 years ago, you know, like it's not like the only thing you could do is send a text message and call. Um, and just think how you woke up then. You probably didn't even use the alarm on your phone. You had like an old like little alarm or alarm clock on the side of your bed, and yeah, you just woke up normally. Like you woke up and you're like, okay, cool, wake up, gonna go brush my teeth, have some and you maybe you had a TV and you watched the cartoon or flip and watched a bit of news or something. But it's like now it's like you're literally plugged in, you know, like from that second you wake up, you're like, and you're there and you're searching or you're scrolling or whatever. Like, yeah, that's what it's crazy. But in our lifetime, how we have woken up has changed. You know what I mean? Like, what is the impact of that on humanity, but long term? It, it's,
Massive.
it, I think I can only think that it's a negative thing, if I'm truly honest, you know, like, I can't think, I mean, of course, there's positive stuff to technology, but like, in terms of like the human and the psyche and everything that goes, that we are part of, I don't know. It's, yeah, it's not a
The
good thing,
problem
eh?
is, it's a washing machine, Gareth, and very few people have taken the time to actually filter what they get exposed to through their phone. So you are
Mm,
constantly being bombarded by a million different opinions and sayings and ideas and other people living their life, or at least portraying themselves to live a certain type of life, that most people are becoming more fucking confused about
100%.
their place in the world and what it is that they should be doing, because they are no longer listening to their own self. They are just being blown from left to right as they scroll through their phones. And uh, and that's why I think so many people are struggling with anxiety, why so many people don't feel like they actually are doing what their soul has been called forth to do here, bro.
But it's the biggest distraction ever if you think about it. Like the amount of time we spend scrolling on stupid social media things, and when we could be using that time like to, I don't know, read an awesome book or start writing or paint a picture or something, you know, like it's so much lost time in the world now. It seems like it's more than maybe it was ever before, you know. But yeah, anyway, but like I said, it's one of these things we need to really practice at and be conscious of, like how we spend our time. But
Yeah.
talking about books quickly, um I'm not sure which book you're reading at the moment, but I just started this one. I started watching this podcast with Jordan Peterson and this guy William Farrell, um, who's I think he's a doctor, but it's super fascinating. They were talking about this book that this guy's written called The Boy Crisis. So I bought The Boy Crisis and I started reading it because it was something that's like, it's something that is actually quite close to my heart in just through, I don't know, whatever. Um, and this guy's a really interesting guy because well, in the 70s he called himself a feminist, right? He was like all about like, you know, that movement and women's rights and all these sort of things. Um, and I think at the same time he was also like into research and he started researching to help women and to that whole movement. But then I guess what started happening with the more research he started doing is he started realizing that there was, you know, through this whole movement, we were actually creating this other big issue, this solution created a problem effectively. And then he's literally just published this book this year called The Boy Crisis. After all these years of research, he's written quite a few books actually, but just talking about like the issues that effectively men and boys are facing in the world because of how our system now kind of operates and sees men and treats men. And yeah, it's just such a good book. But it talks about like a lot about the issues in crime that we have, the fact that guys have really the sort of mental health and suicide rates of men have just like skyrocketed throughout the years. And all these other things that are kind of related to it. And it's yeah, anyway, it's just I'm only about like I think 15% through the book, but yeah, it's they have this one thing in the book, right, which like I said, I'm only 15% through, but he talks about this these workshops that he holds. And the workshop is like whoever attends, you don't have to be a man, it can be men and women. I think based on reading this book, I think almost everyone should read this book, because it really helps you maybe understand the men in your life, helps you understand society a lot more. And anyway, he says he does this thing in one of his workshops where he's like you need to ask your dad what made him have a glint in his eye, like a fire in his eye, before he decided to do what he did. Because the chances are that your dad is doing what he's doing now because he felt that it was the important thing to do, because he needed to provide for his family. And therefore, what he did is he actually sacrificed the glint in his eye for a future glint in the kid's eyes. The kids can be boy or girl. You know what I mean? Because um, that's what men did, or even still probably do. And he said and then he gave like his anecdotal stories, like and the first one was this girl that he spoke about, and he's like, yeah, he did it. He's This girl stood up, and she's like, in the actual conference or workshop that he was holding, and she's like, my dad always did what he wanted to do. He's like, so there's not even any reason to ask him this. So he's like, cool, no worries. Anyway, he's like 8 weeks later or something, 4 weeks later, he gets an email or a letter, and it's from this girl. And she's like, well, she's like, hey, I attended your workshop. I decided to actually ask my dad, this exact question. And I was really shocked at what my dad told me. He actually wanted to be something like completely different to what he was doing, but he actually ended up doing what he's currently doing for the exact reasons that you said. And she's like, I just want to thank you, like you've really made me see my dad in a different light. Like I wasn't necessarily that close to him before because for whatever reasons, but you've just changed like the trajectory of our relationship. And I now like, I love my dad more than anything. And the most important thing is we both cried because my dad said to me, like, thank you for asking and recognizing me, like. And she's like, I can't even explain to you, what that sort of interaction was like. And it was just so powerful. But like, and I was like, yes. And he had a few other stories like that. So I went and I chat to my dad like every week. And I I did this with my dad. I was like, hey, I just wanted to know, like, what did you want to do before you decided to be an engineer? And he's like, oh, I wanted to be an architect. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, like. And then he told me the story about why he didn't become one. And it was literally, he like went to this guy that that owned an architecture firm or was a professor at his university. And and he said, "Hey, I really want to be an architect." And the guy said, "Well, he's like, where are your drawings?" My dad said, I said, "I don't have any." "What do you mean?" He's like, "What, didn't you bring your drawings?" He's like, I don't have any." He's like, "Well, to be honest with you," he's like, "if you don't have any drawings, you're probably never going to make it as an architect, because the guys that really want to be an architect um, have already, been doing this for so much of their life that they're like going to be streets ahead of you." So I was like, wow, I felt like, so it was two things that I felt, obviously, like, the whole story with the guy about the glint in the eye, like, my old man not being an architect, like what he wanted to be. But then the one was like, how crazy is that? Like, almost 5 minutes interaction with somebody killed your dreams. You know what I mean? Like, so there was just two things in that whole story, and I was like, wow, that's kind of sad in many ways. You know what I mean? And um, yeah, I just thought it was like a cool exercise to do with our own, dads or men in our life, or even anybody. It's not really even the book is about the boy crisis, but it's actually for anybody. Like, I think it's an important thing to just ask and acknowledge, you know what I mean? And makes you maybe a bit more compassionate, and see people that little bit differently. Because yeah, just a cool exercise.
Brother, that's a powerful share. And I think every single person has a story like that. And if we reflect on our own lives, we probably also have moments like that where, life is like this river, and there's this constant state, points in your life where you can go left or right, left or right, left or right, based on decisions, and then making those decisions based on a 2-minute conversation where somebody, derides your direction. Um, sure, that's powerful. And looking back, it's so important not to reflect and then be upset with where you are currently,
Yeah.
because otherwise what you end up doing is suffering the past in the present moment, and that will rob you of your joy. So it's a great conversation to have, but also important to go, and I'm still completely at peace and super grateful and extremely happy with exactly where I am right now and with the way things worked out, because they didn't work out any other way. So just to, again, come back to the present moment and not to suffer any decisions or directions that you didn't take from the past.
Yeah, 100%. It's like what Peter Crone says. You'll remember exactly how he says. He's like, everything happened the way it happened because it was meant to happen that way, or something like that.
Exactly.
And
Because it didn't, everything happens the way it happened, and it couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But still, it's still a cool exercise to do. Just it's not like you can change. It's not like you can change the past, but it's cool. It's just good to know. Like, so then I was like, maybe I should get my like dad like just a architecture like course just to do, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, buy him like one of those trestles that and that you can just sit there and do some kind of drawings and stuff. And I think that's the thing, like you can, there's so many good things that can come of that conversation
I love
with
it.
anybody.
Especially the relationship one is important, right? Like for that girl, she suddenly realized that her dad had sacrificed for her, right?
That's
That he had actually
exactly.
given her a great gift. And then the other point, go to your point about, getting your dad an architecture book. If the passion is still there, if it's a real passion, then you can still upgrade your education. You can still, in the moment now, do things to that end if it's what you really want. But I think what maybe happens for a lot of people is they go, well, maybe that was a fire back in the day, but that fire is no longer there, and as you evolve and change as a human, your interests also change.
100%. Yeah. No, 100%, but 100%, like, I guess, I'd ask him probably before, don't want to.
Hey, Dad, I've just
Yeah.
enrolled you at the university for an architecture course.
Yeah. It's only 1 year. Oh, classic.
Classic. Buddy,
But
I wanted to quickly share with you a story that happened last weekend. So my friend Ryan actually treated myself and our other friend Constantine to go to a Wim Hof workshop.
Oh, awesome.
And you introduced me to Wim Hof maybe like 6-7 years ago. You know, you're like, have you heard of the Iceman? Da, da, da. But so we actually went to this incredible this gym, and they had this workshop, maybe about 40 odd people, and they took us through a whole 5-hour course of the whole theory and you know, the breath work, which is, man, when you do that properly, it's crazy, right? And I know you went through a stage where you were practicing this at your house and then getting into the ice tub. But man, so they took us through quite a few rounds of this breathing, and you start to feel that electric charge through your body. There were people that were fainting, people having emotional outbursts. Man, it's incredible, right? And then they had these big ice coolers with the water, and these, you know, bags of ice that have been thrown inside at like 32 degrees.
Yeah.
Buddy, talk about putting your body in an environment where you have no choice but to be super present.
Tell me about it, bud.
You're not thinking about anything else but except the sensations in your body and focusing on your breathing to try and warm yourself up. But we jumped in, so it was 2 minutes at a time that you could jump in for. Shit, man, my toes almost fell off.
Yeah.
And but coming out, bud, the how you feel afterwards is just mind-blowing, right? Like every cell in your body has just been reinvigorated.
But it's amazing, hey, like literally, yeah, I mean, Wim Hof, first of all, what a legend of a bloke. And his story is amazing, but like, I don't know if you've watched any podcasts of it with him on, but he's got an incredible story. But the whole breathing, but isn't this what this is what's amazing? But like all the things that are actually good for us are free, but like everything, I mean, but people don't want them. People are like, they want like a tablet or something or whatever to make them feel good. But no. Actually, you know what? All you need is you need a 1 square meter spot. You know, sit down, cross your legs, and do some, you know, deep breaths. You don't even have to do Wim Hof. Like, just do deep breaths. You know, for like a minute. Start with that a day, and it will literally change your mindset, your physiology, and your outlook on life. Just start there, seriously. And it costs you zero. You know what I mean? All it costs you is like time and effort, and it's not even like it's an effort. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, the benefits are incredible. I did his 10-week course actually.
Oh, wow.
And that was like, so Marissa and I did it together. Actually, every morning we would wake up, and it was an between, I'd say, 45 minutes and an hour 20, depending on which week you were in, you know, like, and also the speed at which you do some of the things. But it was amazing. But we were like, we loved it, you know, and we actually really should do the whole thing again. It's a great thing to do.
I saw photos. You guys had taken bags of ice and put them in your bathtub, right? In your apartment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So they have this club. It's called the Miami Ice Bath Club. And you go there and they do the 15 minutes of breathing. You jump in for 2 minutes in the morning at 7:30. So my friend was, I'm going to start going there every day. But I was like, that's a commitment, right? Where you got to drive 20 minutes to the place to do that, when you could just buy yourself an ice tub here or just order a few bags of ice and whack them in your bath. But you're so right about how the simple things, the most effective things, are the things that we don't do.
Yeah. It's weird, hey? And we almost have like a resistance to doing them. It's like, it's so weird, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, it's like, yeah, I probably should go for a walk on the beach today, you know, but jeez, I got something else to do. You know what I mean?
And then you end up doing nothing.
Exactly, man. Exactly. It's like we're just such weird creatures in so many ways. But yeah, once again, I think it just comes to a bit of discipline, a bit of effort, and you can change your life. Like, you can literally change your life, like you know, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that's going on in my world at the moment, bud, you know, I think we spoke about last week where we were saying, you know, it's good to just break your habits a little bit. And so anyway, a friend of mine reached out going, hey, listen, I have this friend that's got some artwork. She's an artist that needs to be driven up to New York, to Brooklyn.
Whoa.
And she's looking for a driver. So I'm like, that would be quite a cool road trip, right? To go all the way up the East Coast from Miami all the way up to Brooklyn. So I look at the map and I'm like, I'm going to do this. So I reached out to her. I'm like, if you need a driver, I'll do it. She's
Wow.
paying me $1,000. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go I'm going to spend a night in Savannah, Georgia, and then another night in Richmond, Virginia, and then on to Brooklyn. So leave on Thursday and then fly back on Saturday night. So just, to do something different, right? And to say that you've driven all the way up the East Coast of the US.
So you're going to actually do it?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah, see, that's amazing, bud. That's so flipping cool. Wow. What? Yeah, see, I mean, there's nothing better than a road trip, bud. Oh man, like, yes, yeah. I don't know. So she's basically, she needs to almost get her car from Miami or Florida to New York, sort of thing. Is that what she needs? Or
it's a U-Haul. So she's renting the U-Haul with all this artwork that she creates to then take up to a customer or to her business partner that then sells the artwork up there. So I'm literally pick up the U-Haul by her locker, drive it up to her friend in Brooklyn, drop the vehicle off, and then make my way to the airport, bro, and head back.
Yeah, see, but that's so cool, man.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see. Like, I want to see the changing landscape, to drive through different states, and go see some cool little towns or cities along the way.
But I mean, America to me is just like, it's a different country each state you go to, and it's like, I mean, I just don't know what, like, you see all the stuff on the news, people like, like angry and stuff about America, but holy shit, it's one of the most beautiful, epic places ever, bud. You're going to have like such a great time, and it's the cool thing is those little towns, bud. You feel like you're going back into whatever the 80s or 60s or whatever it is, like some of them. And the people are just so friendly and nice, and the countryside is just stunning, like what you see about it. I mean, I'm super jealous. I wish I could join you
there. Yeah. So just so you know, so next Friday, but I'm going to be in the vehicle. So either we can do the call via phone and I can show you a little bit of the road.
Yeah, or, cool.
We could reschedule to Sunday or something, but maybe it'll be fun to do the call via phone.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's a good way to kind of end this sort of session this week. But I mean, wow. Yeah, just so cool to chat to you, man. I love these chats, and
me too, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you for uplifting my spirits and sharing your story, bro.
Yeah.
Just how lucky are we to be in this age where you could be in Brazil, I can be in the US, we're these buddies from South Africa, and we get to do this, man. It's power, bro. It's really food for the soul. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, you too, brother. So thanks, man. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, we'll chat during the week, but send some pics of the trip and stuff. So drive safely, but
like cool, my boy. All right, buddy. Send you lots of love, and give Marissa a big hug. And man, awesome.
Yeah, lots of love, brother. See you, my man.